Next week marks the 40th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, and yet, after all these decades, we're still seeing the same old attacks on women's rights. As state legislatures reconvene this month, there are a slew of laws being proposed that would restrict women's right to choose. We've heard this all before. The latest of them comes from Wyoming, where today lawmakers introduced a pair of so-called fetal heartbeat bills. One of them would ban abortions if the fetal heartbeat of an embryo is detected, and the other would require doctors to explain alternatives to abortion and describe the age and anatomical development of the fetus. And the female patient must sign a document verifying that she knows she can view the ultrasound and listen to the heartbeat. Well, the assault and the intrusion on women's health and the assault on women's rights, it's also happening actually at the federal level. Paul Ryan is back in Congress, back to his same old tricks. He sponsored yet another fetus personhood bill, which would give full legal rights to zygotes. This even after his latest attempt died in the House in 2011. And an Oklahoma Supreme Court struck down a similar initiative in 2012. Oklahoma Supreme Court, that bastion of liberalism, the court there called that bill clearly unconstitutional because it blocks a woman's legal right to have an abortion. Joining me now from Washington is Nancy Keenan. She is the president of NARAL Pro-Choice America. Nancy, especially now, so glad to have you back inside the war room.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me.
You bet, as ever. So let me start with the policy stuff. What are you most concerned about, federal or state laws at the moment restricting women's rights?
Well, look, it's both, because at the federal level, like you said, the U.S. House of Representatives is full of anti-choice politicians that are hell-bent to make sure that women's freedom is denied. And at the state level, same thing. We have 21 states that have an anti-choice governor and legislature. So look, the battle is at all front, and I think that the most critical to all of this is that we have to make sure that we elect and defeat anti-choice politicians and elect pro-choice politicians to stop this nonsense that we're seeing both at the state level and the federal level.
Well, on the state level, as you know, it's been crazy. So the last abortion clinic in Mississippi is on the verge of shutting down because state lawmakers have made the requirements for it to operate so onerous. And Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant actually said last week, "My goal, of course, is to shut it down." So what does Roe versus Wade mean if states can still effectively deny women access to abortions?
Well, I think, look, it's no longer about the legality of it. It is about the access and access to the care that women seek, whether they're in any state in this country. What's really sad about these politicians is that they don't believe that women can make this decision with their family and their doctor. They believe that politicians should be making these decisions. So what has to happen in this country is that the people and women and men and families have to say, enough. Stay out of our business, stay out of this very private medical decision. And we have to, again, connect the personal to the political. And until states elect governors and legislators that are going to basically advance pro-choice values, we're going to see this kind of activity at the state level. Elections matter. Fundamentally, right. Elections matter.
And in the off years, often Democrats do not come out to vote, which is exactly what happened in 2010, which is why all of these governors took office in 2010, all these legislatures turned over, and that is exactly why you're seeing all of these bills continuing to come through the states. So yet another Republican put his foot in his mouth about rape. Representative Phil Gingrey of Georgia, who's a 10-year congressman, he's co-chairman of the 21-member House Republican Doctors Caucus. He actually defended Todd Akin's comments about rape on Friday, saying essentially that the body can shut that whole thing down if it's legitimate rape. And now the Susan B. Anthony list is stepping in to offer a new training program to teach GOP lawmakers how to talk about rape. My goodness, Nancy, how is it that we got here with one party consistently making such offensive comments about women? Has this damaged the Republican brand?
Well, I think sadly so, it is the Republican brand. And because the most extreme of that party have taken over the party, and because the nonsense that you hear coming from them and trying to think that it's only in a messaging memo, the fact is the American public are pro-choice. They have rejected this rhetoric and this nonsense. And the fact until these guys realize that politicians have no business in this, and they're not physicians. I mean, they make crappy doctors, these politicians do. And we have to make sure, as we head into 2014, that we elect pro-choice members at the congressional level and in the state houses. And that's what it boils down to. I mean, it is so critical. When you were governor, we knew the power of having somebody there that shared the pro-choice values. These folks are out of touch with middle America. They are so extreme, and we've got to work harder come 2014 to unelect them and defeat them.
Well, 2014, but you're stepping down like at the end of this month as president for NARAL Pro-Choice America. Today, I think your organization announced that Ilyse Hogue is going to succeed you. So what do you hope she can accomplish in her term? What are you going to do next?
Yeah, well, I think for Ilyse, it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and a great choice for NARAL and, quite honestly, for the overall pro-choice movement. She's going to do great things. I think she can connect the personal to the political as we move into 2014 and make sure we defeat some of these anti-choice politicians. And for me, you know, it's a time to go home to Montana and enjoy family, but a little bit of fly fishing, too.
Fly fishing. All right. So you've just been on this show exhorting us to go out and elect pro-choice women for office. Nancy, I know that you come from elected office. Any chance that we can persuade you to run again?
No, that's not on the horizon, but I will never give up the fight. And whether I'm sitting here in Washington or I'm sitting in Montana, this issue is so critical to women's freedom that you can make sure that I'm going to do my part in whatever possible way I can to make sure that those anti-choice politicians are not reelected in 2014.
Wow, we sure appreciate your service, that's for sure. Thank you so much for your repeated visits inside the war room here. It's been great working with you, and I'm thinking that this is not the last we'll see of Nancy Keenan, president of NARAL Pro-Choice America. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Governor.